I'm sharing a couple of the add-ons for Spellbinders and Yana's City Holiday dies. Hey everyone, it's Joy here and welcome to my channel. Okay, so I did speed this video up quite a bit because it's already long because there is a lot of die cut pieces, but absolutely worth it and so super cute. So I have the original City Holiday die from Spellbinders. This is Yana's collection, and that is this background house. So you can kind of see the embossed marks that you get from the die. So in the original die set, there's arched windows, it's holiday, so there's Christmas tree wreath, there is a cat and a dog, and some other pieces to this. But I'm going to be sharing the everyday windows, curtains, and flower boxes, and the everyday awnings on here. So this background piece of cardstock is this is the coral cardstock from Spellbinders. Then in my curtains here, I am also using Chiffon and Bellini. This one here is Bellini. The frames to my windows and around my door are going to be white as well. I'm bringing in Seaside cardstock. It is my favorite. That's my favorite color. And so I'm going to bring a little bit of that in onto the awnings and a couple of the windows. Really, a really fun kind of summery color scheme. And then the flowers, I'm going to do a wild berry. I know I talk about this on my channel. I talk about Italy all the time like I've been, and I've never been, but I love it. And one of the places I just think is so beautiful is Positano, and a lot of their homes there are just really fun colors, and there were some that were kind of this corally color, so that was where my inspiration for the house came from. So this is going to have 6 smaller windows. The bottom right is a large picture window, and then on the left hand side is your door. So what this looks like to me is this is a cute little shop down at the bottom, and then you have apartments or your house or whatever above it, which I think is really, really charming and so cute. So I have our little tie backs for our curtains here, and there's 3 different types of curtains, so I'm using all 3 of those. We have our cute flower boxes, again with the wild berry cardstock, so it's not as fuchsia as I would like, because I've seen a lot on those coastal cities. They've got these gorgeous fuchsia flowers, and I just think it's such a bright contrast to everything else and all the greenery and the ocean, so I brought that into this as well. In the original die set, you also have these little dies that are bricks. So we're going to add some of those to this as well. Now I've die cut my background piece from Fog cardstock. Because my frames are white, I'm not going to do a white background behind the windows. And I didn't want like yellow or anything that looks like the lights are on, because I just wanted it to kind of go away, but everything else will stand out against it, if that makes sense. So let's work on these little curtains here. I'm just going to glue those down. And then again, I can add this to my Fog cardstock background. Then the other 2 windows that I'm going to have in the center have these little curtains, and I'm going to glue them down lower, and it's going to look funny until we put on the awnings. So I did it on purpose, but if you weren't going to use the awnings, you would glue these to the top, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So I'm just making sure that's all in place. I was getting glue everywhere, but this is starting to come together, and it's going to be really, really cute. So I'm going to alternate. So I'm having the darker Bellini color of curtains on the top, and in the middle, I'm going to have the chiffon curtain. So here's one of the chiffon curtains, and I want to make sure with my awning that everything's going to line up. So you can see I'm adhering this down a little bit lower because the awning is going to cover it. Now with the awnings, I am using like these little arched ones. I love an arch. I wish I had them in my house. But there's also kind of a regular, I guess I would say a square one, but I'm not going to use that. So you have a couple different styles in these add-ons. I love when products have add-ons because then you get to use it again, which I think is just fantastic. I think it's a smart way to have your products, especially something like this, that you can have little add-on pieces so you get to bring it out, because it's always fun to make these. And sometimes you don't get to come back to it, at least because this is my job, I don't get to come back to it like I would like to, but with an add-on, you absolutely can. So here is that Seaside cardstock, and I'm adhering it to my white cardstock. And so this is just going to glue together nicely. Now, the bottom right, that window has a long rectangular awning. That one did not have an option for an arched awning, which is totally fine. I actually think that looks cute because the bottom is a little store anyways. So it's nice to have that in a different shape. And let me just say, thank goodness for reverse tweezers. It makes these things go so much faster when you don't drop them. Okay, so we've got that one. Let's do this longer one. Again, this goes towards the bottom. And then we can adhere that down. How cute are those? Oh my gosh, I love them. And then we have some stairs. I just kept them white with some white cardstock. There's 2 little pieces for that. That's in the original City Holiday die set. The flower boxes are from the Everyday Windows, Curtains, and Flower Boxes. And so I have die cut from Rainforest, which is this lighter green, and then Fern cardstock. And then this is Fawn cardstock for the flower boxes. I thought bringing in a little bit of a wood element would be cute. Okay, so I originally thought I was gonna put window boxes on all 6 windows on the top, but I ended up not doing that, and I think it turned out really, really cute. So now that we have all of our elements pretty much put together, with the exception of our flower box that goes on that big window on the bottom, we'll do that here in just a minute. I want to start gluing my windows down, getting these guys in place so we can start adding all of these other fun details to our little house here, our little city house. So just using some liquid glue. You could use tape runner. That's just fine too, but I wanted to use the liquid glue so I could kind of slide it around and make sure everything is nice and even, as best as I can even things out. Okay, now we have our door, and I thought it would be great to pop the door up just a little bit. The bottom is going to have some dimension as well as the top. So, but I thought it would be fun if the door had a little bit of 3D dimension. So I am going to use... I used 1mm foam adhesive on this. So let me place that there right in the center. Then we can get our cute little stairs here at the bottom. I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind that as well. And that is 1mm also. Now for the awning for this large window, after I insert our, little window pane is what I'm going to call it, I'm going to do 2mm foam adhesive behind that awning. And I also end up having to do 2mm at the top of the arched awnings just because they're laying on top of layered cardstock, so it's a bit thicker. So I couldn't get away with 1mm. I'm not adding any behind our cute little flower boxes here. How charming is this? Oh my gosh, so cute. So just the outside 4 windows are what I'm going to add these little boxes to. And then we have the one down here, and I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind that as well to give that some dimension. And here is where I am using the Fern cardstock. It's a little bit of a darker green, so I wanted the bottom to stand out just a little bit different than the top. So I'm using different flowers down here of the same color, but a darker green cardstock for the leaves. These are sweet little roses that I'm going to adhere. How cute. I love that. And then that is the fun little awning. So let's get the rest of our flowers. Now you can layer this on these smaller boxes with that greenery specifically. You can layer them, and then you would put this solid piece of flowers on the bottom, and then if you have another layer of leaves behind it a little bit taller, then these little pieces here you would add to that. That's not how I'm doing it, but I do want it to look a little bit differently. And so I just used both of the dies for this. How cute is that? And then I have these little pieces, which I have to die cut another one of these little Seaside pieces that go at the bottom of the windowsill. I didn't need to do it on the other windows because you weren't going to see it because of the flower boxes, but those two center windows, I do need to add that. So I'm going to die cut another one of those here pretty quick. 2mm foam adhesive behind that awning. How cute is that? Oh my gosh, I love it. Then you have the top part of our house here in that Seaside cardstock. That's going to finish off the top so nicely. And then we have all of these little awnings. Now, something that would also be cute is to not put the awnings on those center windows. And I wish I would have thought about that before I glued my little curtains in. Otherwise, I would have just glued the curtains up to the top and left the awnings off of the center ones, because that would be really cute too. And you'll see here in just a second. How cute would that be? I love this look too, but because I glued them already for the awning, I have to do that. So a little bit of foam adhesive, and then I can apply those. Cute, cute. And then let's add those two little pieces on these, or one piece on each window in the center of the Seaside cardstock, just right down here at the bottom. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment in that shop window. So I'm looking for a small, thin sentiment, and I'm going to use the Misty for that. And you could stamp it ahead of time, but it was not a big deal to stamp it first. So we'll get to that in just a second. But now we've got these cute little bricks die cut from white. I'm just doing them on the edge. I'm doing them in different lengths, different groupings, just to add that little extra character. It would be fun to cover the whole thing in bricks, but that would be a lot of die cutting if you were to use those little die pieces. So I was not that brave. Let's add some more on the top left here, and then I'm going to add a few right down below underneath that window. I like the idea of exposed brick. I think that's really cute. So we've got two up there. I'm going to trim the excess of these ones off. And then I'm going to add some down here at the bottom. But I think that's really cute. Just adds that a little extra detail to the front of this cute little house. And I love it. Imagine all the different colors you could make this, especially with that exposed brick. You could really make it look distressed. And I think that is really fun. Let's put those guys. I like that. I think we're going to put them down here. I'm going to tuck one of them really close up under that window there. And then the other two are going to go next to it. So I am going to use my Misty for stamping because I want to make sure I get a really good solid black image for my sentiment, especially because I'm putting it in between things that are has dimension with the foam tape. And I'm talking about that and I'm not even there yet. So hold on. This is the background. I'm using the Little Boxes 3D embossing folder from scrapbook.com, and that's going to be the background for this house. And I'm going to keep it white, but I did want some texture. So I'm going to run this through my die cut machine, and this is going to be what our cute little city is going to be on top of. Look at how fun that is. I love it. Okay, so here in the Misty, so I have that sentiment. It says just a hello. This is from scrapbook.com. It's the Happy Little Sentiments stamp set. It fits perfect. I'm going to stamp that with black ink. I'm going to make sure I don't have any black ink on my Misty, on the lid of my Misty, because I don't want to transfer that onto my awning. But I'm just going to give that a decent pressure, and it works, and it made the best sense for me to do it that way. Then 1mm foam adhesive behind the back of our card front here. And then let's adhere that. And I'm kind of centering it in all those little boxes. And then we are done. How cute is this? Oh my gosh, I love these add-ons. They are so much fun to use. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project. I hope you feel inspired, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye.